Hi, my name is Jim and I was retired. Many people believe that you must use a fee-only financial planner. After all, they're fiduciaries. Well, stay tuned to this video and I'm going to explore my experience with the fiduciary fallacy. Merriam-Webster defines a fiduciary as the following: one often in a position of authority who obligates himself or herself to act on behalf of another, as in managing money or property, and assumes a duty to act in good faith and with care, candor, and loyalty in fulfilling that obligation. If you're trying to plan for your retirement, you may have come to believe that a much simpler definition of fiduciary is fee only, and that's the only place you should go for your advice for a retirement. Let me just explain my experience and why I'm not going with a fee only planner. When I retired 6 years ago, the best advice that I got was from our life insurance agent, and he didn't charge me anything for reviewing my retirement plans. In fact, I got advice from 2 other financial advisors and I didn't pay anything for that advice. I thought I had enough assets in deferred compensation and in savings and in my brokerage account to last, even though I started my retirement 6 years too soon. But to be sure, my wife asked me to go get some other financial advice to make sure. And we actually consulted 3 financial advisors. The first was with ACO, a financial planning firm that was hired by my former employer as an employee benefit. And as I terminated service, I was allowed to use that service for a few more weeks. I had a phone consult with a financial planner who looked over all of my numbers and gave me a 29-page printout of my asset allocation and the recommended asset allocation, and another 9-page document that showed what my pension would look like if I took it early and my Social Security at my full retirement age. As you know from a prior video, I took my pension when I hit 65, and I'm waiting until 70 for Social Security. The second financial advisor that we talked to was my broker at Charles Schwab. They held my IRA and my brokerage account at that time. I had 2 other IRAs with other brokers, but I was consolidating with Schwab and I wanted to see what their advice was. The branch manager of the local Schwab office essentially walked me through the financial planning tools that any Schwab customer can use on their website today for your free retirement plan from Schwab. I ran through that set of numbers. The third was my life insurance agent. I actually called up my Northwestern Mutual Life agent to figure out which insurance policies I should let go and which I should keep now that I no longer needed any income replacement life insurance. Well, he not only took care of my life insurance, but he actually offered to volunteer to review all of my retirement income sources to see what I had according to his plan. He generated a very detailed cash flow of retirement. In fact, of the 3, I think it was the most informative. Now, I realize I paid for that financial plan with the commissions that I paid his company through the years for the whole life policies. And I realize that Charles Schwab gets compensated for the accounts that I have with them. And my employer paid for ACO as an employee benefit to fulfill an employee benefit and to fulfill their fiduciary duty in offering a 401k. But they were 3 independent views from different perspectives of my numbers, and they concurred. I was retired. I was okay. Now, all 3 plans looked at the income that I was expecting through pension and Social Security. They looked at all of the assets, both tax deferred and taxable assets. I had a little Roth 401k money, tax-free, but that's it at that point, 6 years ago. They looked at all of that and they made some projections based on expected returns and inflation rates and longevity. How long did I think I needed to last for retirement? And they all crunched the numbers in similar ways. They all three had Monte Carlo simulation, and they all agreed that the numbers worked out. None of the three are managing my money for me. I'm a DIY, and I'm not prepared to turn over my assets to somebody else to manage, particularly for a fee-only financial planner. That fee is often a 1% asset under management fee, collected quarterly out of your accounts that are under management by the planner. I already had my choices of where I wanted to keep my money, so I was not prepared. I also did the number crunching to know how much that would actually cost me if I went with a 1% AUM. A 1% AUM fee and a few basis points here and there for the investment choices may seem like chump change, but in your retirement, they could add up to serious money. Let me show you on a spreadsheet what the numbers add up to be. This is a spreadsheet that's similar to the one that I shared in a prior video. And let's assume a retiree at 65 has $1.5 million in assets. The expected return for the full portfolio is around 7%, and inflation is 3%. The real rate of return CAGR that I've calculated here is 3.9%, and the average annual return, considering the standard deviation, is 4.2%. And I've used that figure for how the pie will grow. I'm assuming that the investment fee rate is 1.13%. That's the 1% AUM plus the fees for the investments that have been selected in the portfolio. I'm expecting that the retiree takes out $40,000 in the first year, which is then inflated by the inflation. And now let's see what happens. If you can see, the total fees at age 100 will be $462,000. And look at these first 10 or so years, you're over $16,000 in fees going to the AUM financial planner for managing this. I know I can't afford fees like that. Can you? Well, if you're not actively managing your money, you probably should have somebody manage them for you, but get the best arrangement you can. A point and a half is way too much. Look around. Vanguard has a management service fee that starts at 0.3. There are others. Check around for the best. But for me, the best advice is DIY. Do it yourself. Take advice from financial advisors that you trust, no matter how they are compensated. There's this great fear that if you're not dealing with a fee-only fiduciary, then you're going to get ripped off. Well, as long as the commissioned life insurance agent or broker is upfront about the fees that they're collecting, take their advice. You make the final decision. It can't hurt to get different perspectives. I also believe, as a DIY retiree, that technology, automation, and artificial intelligence are all going to catch up with these AUM financial planners. There's already articles out there that note that the discount brokers like Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, they're all offering financial planning tools for the DIY retiree. That's going to continue. There are now people putting it on apps on your smartphone. That's the wave of the future. And you no longer have to just accept that somebody's going to take 1% of your assets every year. There are other fee alternatives. There are some financial planners that are going the advice-only route, and they'll either charge you a one-time fee or an hourly rate to prepare a financial plan that you get executed either by yourself or by others. There is some appeal to that. In fact, I paid a one-time fee to an estate planning attorney, and that person met with my wife and I, planned all of our documents, executed them. I'll go back and visit if I have to with that estate planner to update the documents, but one-time fee made sense for that kind of arrangement. So it probably might make sense for financial planning for some people too. I know an accountant will charge you to prepare this year's tax return. You may decide also to do a TurboTax, a tax return in a box, and do it yourself. I keep waiting for the financial planning alternative that's packaged like TurboTax for my financial planning. There are some alternatives, some subscriptions like New Retirement that has a subscription for an annual fee for their plus. That's only about $100 or so. That's a reasonable approach. I've been looking into that one, and I'll explore that in a future video. Personal Capital will do some financial planning for free as long as they can call you up and ask if they can be your AUM financial planner. But again, you don't have to say yes to that. If you are suddenly retired, I do recommend that you talk to a financial advisor, somebody that you trust, to go over your plans. Now, you could pay for that, but before you do, I would start with talking with financial advisors that you trust. An agent, a broker, a banker. Talk to somebody and get some free advice before you go into the paid advice realm. Pay for it if you must, but you may find that you can learn enough from trusted advisors and your own education to do it yourself. Now, I will conclude with my standard warning. I am not a financial professional. I have no initials after my name. So always do your own due diligence and seek out a professional if you need to. Be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. The more subscriptions it gets, the higher it will be up in the search results when people are looking for topics. And if there are people out there that are in an unexpected retirement, one that arrived sooner than they expected, I'd like them to find my ideas. You can also check out my Medium blog. I've started blogging at iwasretiredmedium.com. I'll put the link in the notes below. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.